I asked you guys to send me a couple of questions based on GCSEs and anything you might want me to answer, and I have them right here, right in front of me. Because I haven't done a Q&A type of video in a long time, I just want to go over these questions and hopefully give you a bit of advice on GCSEs and maybe some stuff around it as well. So yeah, let's just get straight into it. So the first question we have here is, how did you revise GCSE Chemistry? This is a very broad question. I mean, I do have this video that just basically addresses how I did well in GCSE Chemistry, but I guess specifically the main reason I would say that I did well in my chemistry exams was my flashcards that I made and the questions that I did. So by flashcard, I just mean my RemNote flashcards. If you don't know what RemNote is, it's in the corner at the top right. I might be pointing at the wrong direction, but basically every few days or so I would go over these flashcards, and whenever I'd do a new topic, I'd add it into my list of flashcards. Back in year 10 and 11, I didn't really do my flashcards regularly, but it was fine because I would say that the content for GCSE Chemistry, at least, now I'm comparing it with A-level, is just, it's not that much. I mean, it is still a lot, like, don't get me wrong, you still need to spend at least like a month before your GCSE exams revising, especially if you don't know that content already. But once you've made flashcards, or no, like any other way of actually learning the information, for me, the best way is flashcards, but that's just my opinion. I just find it just really easy to learn, but I've got friends who don't really like the idea of flashcards, and that's okay. It just completely depends on what works with you. After flashcards and like understanding the main concepts and just like the factual bits of information for chemistry, it was all just a basis of answering as many questions. Like, for example, for quantitative chemistry, I had 0 flashcards on it. It was just doing more and more and more questions, and that's basically it. It's just the more questions you do, the better you'll get, and you'll start realizing there's like these patterns in why you're getting certain questions wrong. And so what I would do is I'd make those into flashcards as well, like certain exam questions that keep on coming up and I just don't properly get the marks for it. And over time I build up this entire bank of exam questions that I've just learnt the mark schemes for, and it just helps so much, especially when you go straight into that exam, because you're always going to see very similar type of questions come up. And yeah, I would say that's probably the reason I did well. Apart from that, I think it all just depends on practice questions and learning that information. Okay, so here we have the next question, which is, how long did you revise for and when did you start? I'm assuming this is for GCSEs, but obviously, I mean, this entire video is GCSE based. So I have a video that kind of explains how I did my revision for GCSEs, because it's not like I wasn't revising, then I suddenly started revising. I think throughout the entirety of year 11, I always had some bit of revision that I kept on doing, but it just slowly increased over time. So my main source of revision for most of year 11 was just making flashcards and occasionally reviewing them. Sometimes I'd just be too lazy to, but it was just something I was trying to keep up with. But then like the only times I'd do practice questions would be right before exams and like any end of half-term exams that I might have. And then like about, I would say, 3 months before my actual GCSE exams, I started to compile a list of like things I needed to go over and things to like, basically it was like this whole revision plan that I made for myself. And over the course of the next couple of weeks, even though it wasn't like proper revision, I just tried to like slowly bring it up and up. And I would say my main source of revision came from the last month, right before the GCSE exams. I would say even if you're at a stage where you don't know any of the content, if you still have like a month left, you can easily turn it all around. A month is a lot of time. It's just all about your dedication and your motivation to actually do that work. It might be a lot, but you can easily get it done. So I would say that ideally, I did start my revision technically a month before the exam properly. That was when I was doing my past paper practice and my exam questions and things. But even before that, I was always making flashcards, and that was pretty much it. Oh, and someone else here has also said that cramming works at GCSE level in their experience. Yeah, I actually have like quite a few friends who just really left it at last minute, but even then they didn't do that badly. I'm not saying cram for your exams, it's not always a good idea. I am not also saying that cramming is useless. Cramming can help. A lot of the time teachers go, there's no point a last minute revising for an exam. I mean, obviously if your only revision is that last minute revision, then that is a bit of a problem, but last minute revision is one of the most crucial parts of the revision, and you can get so much done in the last couple of days before an exam, and especially the last couple of minutes before an exam, that it can really like turn it around for you. So it's like cramming, I would say you can get away with at GCSE level, but don't build that habit, because by the time you get to A level, you're not going to be able to cram. Just like trust me on that. You're always going to have work to do. You can't cram it. It's incompressible. It doesn't squeeze into a short period of time. It's very time consuming. Okay, so the next one here is quite a difficult question for me to answer. How do you deal with being too tired, stressed, or feeling burnt out when you still have work to do? I still have this feeling all the time. There's days when I know I have so much work to do, but I'm just too tired to do it. Best way I kind of got through it was through to-do lists, because they like really helped me to make sure I got my tasks done and to like actually visualize what I needed to do for that day. And there would be days, especially like in the holidays and things, where I knew I had to get a lot of work done, but I didn't know when to do it, so I would like time block it at certain times of the day. So that meant that when I was doing no work, I wouldn't feel guilty about not doing any work, and I'd know that I had done all my work that I needed to do. I always try and like not overexert myself. I kind of know my limits, and I know when I've done too much work, and I just stop right there and then. Unless it's like something really important for me to do, I kind of push through it, but that's rarely happened to me. I'm usually someone who can get tasks done quite early and not keep them until like the last deadlines, so that's something I think it's just based on organization, getting things done early. Okay, here we have quite a long question. So how do you plan that you can cover all the content for science, English literature, geography and maths with 3 months left until exams? Okay, that is quite a difficult question for me to answer. I would say that because they're all so different in covering content. Like for science, it's all about the flashcards or the like videos to watch or whatever way you find easy to memorize information. It's all about that and coupling it with exam practice. So I would say that if ideally, if you can get to 1 month before your exams, your real thing, knowing all your content like really well, then you're in a good position, because then you can spend that month doing just exam practice and occasionally watching a video because you might have forgotten a topic or something. But if you can consolidate everything before then, it would probably be the best for you. In terms of English Lit, I mean, covering content for English Lit is a bit weird. There's not really much content to cover. It's just text that you need to know in and out. So especially in year 11, I would say it's really useful to be constantly reviewing your text. One thing I did, especially in like my last couple of months before the GCSE exams, was I'd always like read one poem before I'd go to bed, or I'd read a few pages of like an Inspector Calls, or just something to always have in my mind about English, because in terms of quotations, because I did rereading again and again, the quotations just came to me. I didn't even have to memorize them. Doing as many essays as you can, the more essays you do, the better you'll get. Trust me, I think that's the most important thing about English Lit and English language. All you have to do is do essays and send them to your teacher, and you'll eventually see that you'll be working on your mistakes and slowly getting better and better. To end this video, we've got a few questions here that are not entirely related to GCSEs, but kind of related around my YouTube channel and just like my personal life. So how did you balance doing your YouTube channel and school at the same time? Well, in terms of year 10 and 11, I would say I was pretty consistent with my uploading, because there isn't that much work to do, especially before the like last couple of months before your exams. There's just not that much. As long as you do the homeworks that you're being set and just occasionally making flashcards and learning the information, then you're pretty much set. It's like completely different to A-level now. Like it was very easy to balance back then. For A-levels, it's so much more different. Like the best way I can explain it is the amount of work that you'd usually do for a topic test back in year 11 is usually the amount of work that you need to do each day, or sometimes every 2 days. So it's like to do well in your exams and to be on top of everything, you need to do a lot of work because there's just so much content and so much homeworks that you might get set, or like just even without homework, even when you've done all your homework, there's just things that you can do more, and it's just really difficult at times. Next question is by the same person as well. Did you get imposter syndrome, and if so, how did you deal with it? So if you don't know what imposter syndrome is, I think it's like when you feel that you shouldn't be as successful as you are. I personally would not say this channel's like that big. I don't think I'm that famous. Compared to other channels and other study channels, I am pretty small, so I don't really get this feeling that much. I don't really feel much like why is it me? I mean, there are times when like someone would come up to me and talk about my channel, and I'd be like, oh, okay, I didn't know you watched it, but apart from that, like I haven't had many fan interactions either. I've had like a few, some really interesting ones, but like generally I don't have that feeling. I just don't think my channel's that big enough for me to really comprehend that. So yeah, that is basically it for this video. Those are all the questions. If you want me to do another Q&A just like this one, make sure you leave some questions down below in the comments. And if you have any other things you want to say, I've got an email at the bottom of my description as well that you can send emails to. I am usually very slow at replying to them because a lot of the times I just can't be bothered. So usually the emails are for like if you have a really difficult thing that needs to be tackled and you want me to actually spend some time to give you a proper in-depth answer to it. So it just depends. Like if I don't respond to you, don't take that personally. I always try and get back to people, but sometimes it can be very difficult, especially when I've got like a lot of work to do as well, and I'm just very lazy, to be honest. And apart from that, I don't really have much else to say. So I'll see you again next time, and make sure you subscribe and continue revising and just stay happy. Make sure you don't let revision take over you, and at the same time make sure you don't completely disregard revision as well. So yeah, I'll see you again next time. Bye for now.